of the best use cases we found for that is TWAP and limit orders for decentralized exchanges. I'm sure everybody here knows what a limit order is. It's an order that sits there waiting for the right price. It then gets executed at the right price. And TWAP is time-weighted average price. It means that, I want to do a large trade. Either I want to do DCA, so I want to go in gradually into a position or out gradually out of a position, or I want to neutralize volatility, so I would cut the trade into a bunch of smaller trades and get them executed. I can take $1,000, do $100 trade each over, intervals of 10 minutes or 1 hour or 1 day or 1 week. And that's TWAP. That's stuff that's very used in centralized exchanges and in TradFi, but it's very hard to implement on an AMM. So with Orbs layer integrated, you can have TWAP and limit for DEXs. We have 12 DEXs integrated now, and we're growing that on 7 different chains, 13,000 TWAP orders placed, 5,400 different wallets, and over $40 million in open interest. So that's going very, very well. But that's, I would say, an easy use case. One, it's not something you can really monetize. There's not so much money in this, not so much protocol revenue. You could put a little bit of a fee on limit orders, but it's not that interesting, not that material. And also, we feel like our network could do compute that's more robust, and we wanted to look for a right use case to use it for. And that gave us to a place where we came back and kind of thinking about what's going on, where is it valuable. And one of the things that we have a very strong conviction on is that the next bull market is going to be on-chain. This is something we strongly believe in. And there's many reasons why we think that. One, we do see month-to-month grow on DEX volumes. We do see DEX volumes grow. This is supposed to be a graph. Our designer here was very creative, but this is a graph. So essentially, we do see growth month to month in DEX volume, and we do see a lot of more on-chain activity. Also, in looking at regulation, we have seen, obviously, the crackdown on CeFi. We saw the SEC has been super aggressive with Binance, with Coinbase, with other venues as well, and tokens. While on DeFi, we do see that at least the regulators kind of approach to DeFi still hasn't been defined. So I'm not necessarily saying it's positive. I'm just saying we don't see active enforcement actions against DeFi protocols at this point. And what happens is, specifically here in the US, we are seeing a lot of people moving out of CeFi and into DeFi. I think a lot of the people trading today are DeFi first. And also one of the interesting things we have been seeing is that a lot of the people actually, the good, new cool kind of assets are first trading on DeFi before they even get to the CeFi. So for those, degens who are looking for the newest assets, the newest meme coins, the newest things going on, you do see that, they need to trade on DeFi before you get to CeFi, because honestly, if you wait until a token is listed on Coinbase, there's a very good likelihood that all the people who bought DeFi are going to dump on you the moment you get listed on centralized exchange. And this just, have the example of WIF, but that's one of many tokens that you can see that the trading was very strong before CeFi, and market price, price movement was positive when it was traded on DeFi only, and then when it came to CeFi, you can see, price went down a little bit. Sometimes it keeps going up, but still, if you want the newer assets, you'd have to start trading them when they get listed on DEXs way before the centralized exchanges. And obviously, there's counterparty risk, right? We all know what happened last few years. We've all seen FTX, Celsius, and others. Billions lost, funds misappropriated. It's not that DeFi is without risk, but at least it's not that kind of risk. It's different risks. And, you could hedge them, I think, better in DeFi than you could in CeFi. So what's preventing from everything being on-chain? One thing is user experience. User experience is still lagging behind. Again, I've been in this industry for, since 2015. That's almost 9 years now. Everybody's talking about next year they're going to figure out the whole UI UX thing is going to be amazing. Still bad. You still need your MetaMask. You open it. You still most web-based and not mobile-based. Oh, it's getting better. So still the on-chain user experience in DeFi is worse than on CeFi. we have seen a lot of improvements. There's a bunch of other protocols working on like account abstractions and DeFi wallets and stuff like this. It's getting better. One specific project we like a lot in this space is Ton. We've been building on, as I mentioned, and that's because we think Telegram is emerging as kind of the prime venue for Web3. A lot of the Web3 activities are going on Telegram, and most people I'm meeting here in the conference are primarily using Telegram. And we've seen Unibot and Maestro and a lot of other protocols using Telegram as the main kind of interface. And Telegram itself has vouched on a chain. It's called Ton as their exclusive chain that they're using, and they have a Telegram wallet integrated within the Telegram Messenger. I'm not sure if this functionality is specifically open in the US. I think maybe it's not, but everywhere else in the world you can get it. But essentially, you have an integrated, decentralized wallet, non-custodial wallet within your Telegram app, and you can integrate with Ton and other assets and interesting dApps, all integrated with Telegram web apps. So we think this is a very good stride to, in terms of UX for like user kind of experience integrating with crypto and blockchain. So specifically, this is one project we've been heavily building on. We're doing a bunch of stuff on Ton. We're the biggest RPC. We're the tool to mint new tokens. We're the biggest governance platform. But this is one kind of thing that we think could help progress adoption of on-chain activity. And the other thing I think is even more material than just UX is prices are generally worst on-chain. We've discussed some products are first rated on DeFi and then get to CeFi, but once projects are on DeFi and CeFi, usually you would get a better price and you would get better execution on CeFi order book based exchanges as compared to AMMs. And on-chain prices are not competitive. And the reason they're not competitive is because just liquidity fragmentation. Liquidity is highly fragmented across different chains, across different AMMs, across on the same chain, and across different pools within the same AMM. And what happens effectively is the DEXs, at least on the UI level, cannot compete with the aggregators. Most users will go to like 1inch, Paraswap, one of these guys when they want to swap, because the price you would get on an AMM UI is just not competitive. And one interesting case study we've seen with Uniswap X that was launched in the summer, is now operational and growing in volume, is where essentially you have Uniswap, that's the biggest AMM in the ecosystem, first AMM, probably first AMM, Bunker would not agree, but first big AMM. They essentially integrated an aggregator into their own UI. So today, any swap that comes into Uniswap, they check against other liquidity sources, market makers, and potentially they would route it not through their AMM at all. So this was like kind of a first stride we saw of an AMM coming saying, we can't really compete with the aggregators, so we're going to become an aggregator ourselves. And on that kind of basis, we came with Liquidity Hub. Liquidity Hub is a project that we've built on top of the Orbs network. And essentially, it is kind of similar to Uniswap X in the idea is we tap into external liquidity from within a DEX UI, and I'll explain. So, right now you have a user. I have a couple of our partners here listed, Thena and QuickSwap. A user comes into QuickSwap, for example, on Polygon. They want to swap. So the way it was today, they just interact directly with the pools on that specific AMM using whatever router. You used to have like a V2 router, then you had the more advanced like V3 routers, and now a lot of the projects are using somebody else to do the routing, like Paraswap or OpenOcean or Odos. But still, you're limited to that liquidity. What we do with Liquidity Hub is we check against outsourced liquidity. So every time a swap comes into QuickSwap, for example, today, Liquidity Hub checks against outsourced liquidity. We see whether we can provide a better price as compared to the AMM price. And if we do get a better price, then it's being routed through that external liquidity. And there we have different types of liquidity. We have on-chain solvers, so Paraswap, Odos, OpenOcean, Kyber, Rango, Bebop. All these guys are acting as solvers. And we have market makers. We have Manifold as market maker. We have JC as market maker. We're integrating new market makers as we speak. But potentially with that, we can improve price. And right now, we are improving price for something like 30% of the trades coming into the AMM UI. And obviously, this creates a place for DEXs to monetize as well, because once there's user saving, you can take fees. And those fees can go, one, to the AMM team. I'm not sure if people here know, but AMM is something that's very hard to monetize. So it's money for the AMM teams. It's money for, you can do extra additional rewards for LPs to incentivize liquidity for your pools. And obviously, this is revenue generating for the Orbs protocol as well. And this is just a slide kind of showing the potential. The price you can get, which just tapping into, the better the liquidity, the more the TVL, the better price you can give to users. And then you see, if I do just QuickSwap themselves, I have 125 million. If I expand to the entire Polygon chain, like Polygon POS chain, I can get 950 million. Once I expand to like all of on-chain TVL with like cross-chain solvers, etc., I can get like 60 billion. And if I have off-chain solving, like with market makers who are solving against Binance or OKX or Coinbase, I can get 600 billion worth of liquidity. So the more liquidity, the better the price you can get. And that's essentially what we're doing with Liquidity Hub, is tapping into that additional liquidity. And just going back to what Orbs is, so obviously this kind of thing does require, so we do use a Dutch auction model, and a lot of the action is done on-chain. No assets are being transferred to the Orbs layer or anything, but we do have a bit of a compute coming in here, doing all this kind of comparisons and integrating the AMMs, etc., and all of this is being executed on the Orbs layer. So going back to where we started from is really trying to find the best product fit for our layer, for our technology. We do believe this is it. With Liquidity Hub and providing our decentralized backend to power essentially the auction for Liquidity Hub and do the execution. And yeah, we do believe that yesterday people were like competing over TVL, everything that, DEXs were trying to achieve, or DeFi programs were trying to achieve, is TVL. We do believe now volume is king. I think in this kind of bull market, we'll see projects competing over volume and revenue way before TVL, because TVL is something that's, it's a good street cred, and it's nice to be high up on DeFi Llama, but end of the day, it's very hard to monetize. So we do believe we'll see volume as king in this cycle. And yeah, we do work with a bunch of DEXs. Somehow, some of the logos didn't load here, but we work with a bunch of DEXs using TWAP, Limit, Liquidity Hub, and some of the other products we offer. I think, yeah, many chains, many projects. Here we go. Yeah, and Spot is just a start for us. We are looking at additional places where our technology could be implemented, and one of the places we've identified as interesting is on-chain derivatives. On-chain derivatives is quite small still. We all know, a couple of big projects. Everybody knows GMX and DYDX. They're doing like order book-based derivatives, but they're still quite small, and also they're not super capital efficient in the way they operate. That's one of the reasons they're not growing more than they are now. But on CeFi, derivatives is very big. Like Binance derivatives, very big. OKX derivatives, very big. And if in Spot we see like around 20% of the volume is Spot volume happens on chain, then it's not even 2% of the futures volume. And this is a place where we think that if we can get more liquidity from CeFi into DeFi in terms of derivatives, we can get much better execution on chain, and people don't have to go to centralized exchanges for this. And for this reason, we have a partner with a project called SIM.io. I'm not sure if you know them. SIM.io are doing intent-based execution for derivatives. So essentially, it's an RFQ-based system and not an order book system. But users can go on chain, open interest, open a trade, and then you have hedgers who are taking the other side of the trade, and they hedge that against CeFi based on RFQ. SIM.io is the engine for it. And right now they have two UI integration. One is Thena on BNB, and the other is IntentX, which is now on Base, and I think launching on Blast soon. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that. But that's also something that's very, very interesting for us. So we have invested in all three of these companies. and are now building, we're building a decentralized hedger to hedge open interest from between on-chain and off-chain. And then we're going to collaborate with them on building essentially the bidding system for hedgers to compete over open interest that's opened by users. And this is something that, if we can scale this right, I think we have massive volumes, as people are very interested in trading derivatives, as we are seeing in CeFi. So thank you for having me. Super happy to talk about what we're building. I think this is a very, very, very exciting cycle, interesting cycle. I think we're going to see way more things happening in DeFi as compared to before, even more than DeFi summer. All the new chains coming up, all the new protocols coming up, and I think it's a privilege to still be here for this cycle and building. And looking forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ran. Do you want to do questions? Any questions for Ran?
Questions, anyone?
Hi, real quick, what centralized exchanges have you partnered with?
Sorry?
What centralized exchanges have you partnered with?
So it depends on the product. For Liquidity Hub specifically, we're agnostic, so it depends on what the market makers are using. I think most of them are using Binance right now, but they can use whatever, maybe Coinbase as well. But we're agnostic. There's like a Dutch trade. That's a Dutch auction model. So wherever they can source a better price, they can participate. They can also do it with their own liquidity had they wanted to. But yeah, I think most of them now hedge with Binance. For futures specifically, in SIM's current model, because futures are like non-fungible. You have like different type of futures in like every venue. So specifically, the hedging is against Binance with this product the way it is today. Potentially, that could be improved in future versions to have multiple counterparties for the hedging.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ran.